That's because the ladies' room is where we feel safe enough to be vulnerable. It's where we go to offer support and guidance. In the ladies' room, we strategize and organize to take over the world.
Where do women go for honesty, strategy, guidance, and inspiration? Welcome to the Ladies' Room. Hosted by Roxann Smithers.
I'm Roxann Smithers, and I want to welcome you to the Ladies' Room. So today's topic, we are going to be discussing business ownership, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I have an amazing panel of business owners that are really going to talk about this issue and get into some of the honest conversations that we don't always see on our social media or on our websites when we're portraying the role of a business owner. So I'm so excited first to welcome Bridget Wiles. She's the Chief Operation Officer for APD Urban Planning and Management, LLC. Welcome, Bridget.
Thank you.
I also have Sierra Mokim, who is the owner of Adobe Group, a communications and design company. Welcome. And then last but certainly not least, we have Stephanie Richardson Parker, who is the co-founder of the Moxie Maids.
Thanks for having me.
Ladies, I am so excited to get into this topic because I know all of you are dynamic business owners. And there's a lot of myths that we have about being a business owner and what it's really like, right? So we're in the ladies' room, so we're going to get honest about what we deal with, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So the first thing that I want to do is ask you all, how did you get into the position where you were owning your own business? What brought you to that point? Stephanie, I'm going to start with you.
So I was working in corporate America, and I wasn't loving it. And I was in my 30s, and I still thought, wow, I have another 30 years to go before retirement. And I thought, this isn't going to work. And so I didn't know what that meant. Everyone in my family worked until they retired. So I didn't have a blueprint of entrepreneur or entrepreneurship to kind of bounce things off the wall or kind of just talk to someone about. So my husband and I just kind of started talking. We just started talking about different businesses, and so we started a cleaning service while we both were working full time.
Ooh, that's hard.
And that's very hard.
Yeah.
And so, for a lot of people, I would say, well, for us, it wasn't sustainable. Mm-hmm. And so he said, someone needs to leave work full time, and it should be you. And even though I did not like my job, putting in that 2 weeks notice was the hardest thing I ever had to do. I had it written, typed up, and every day he would say, did you turn it in? No, I always had an excuse. And so I finally turned it in. I was like, well, there's this big project. Let me kind of get through that. It was really just nerves because you're so used to one of the things that I say is like one of the most addictive things is a 2-week paycheck. Yes. It's so addictive. No matter what happens, you're going to get paid. Entrepreneurship is not like that. Okay? Mm-hmm. And so that's what I could not give up. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what that would mean for me, what that would mean for bills, right? Those bills still come every month.
Exactly.
Entrepreneurship or not. So I just didn't know how that would work. So I did it. I bit the bullet. 5 years later, I'm still standing.
She's still standing. Still claiming it.
Right.
Well, right. Yes. Sierra, tell me about your experience. I know you have owned a couple different businesses, so you've been in this game for a bit. But what initially brought you into sort of the fold of being a business owner?
Gosh, so my father is an entrepreneur. He has an African art gallery. He's had nightclubs. He's had a bunch of things. My first taste of entrepreneurship, thanks, Mom, I got in trouble for smoking weed. And
this is a real deal.
Oh, this is the ugly part. It's the truth. It's the real tea. So I got in trouble when I was in high school for smoking, and my mom said, okay, you think you bad, and then shipped me off to my dad's house. Okay. And then my dad was like, he's Nigerian, and he's like, well, you ain't going to be here. You're going to read the Bible, and you're going to learn this entrepreneurship thing.
Okay.
So I started getting into the word, and my dad opened up like a coffee shop and like art gallery where I was in charge of all the operations. Loved it. That was like what? I was 16.
Wow.
Went back to school, stopped smoking weed.
That's her official line.
Right.
Official line.
For sure. And then went to college, pitched an idea for a senior project. I was a sophomore. And then she was like, "You've done this before." And I got gassed. Deuces. Went back into corporate America because I didn't know how to. And then my clients, when I worked at the bank, they were like, "You should come work for me." And everybody was a small business owner. And then from there, the rest is kind of history. So.
I like that story.
Right, I'm like
that's like an after school special with a happy ending.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
No more weed.
Right.
Okay, Bridget, did yours involve any recreational drugs that you want to admit to?
Right.
Now, as an attorney, I tell you have the right to remain silent. But in the ladies' room, we're not silent.
Okay,
So
we just
spill.
move to the next part. So for me, I was living in Texas, and I was founded and started a nonprofit for youth.
Okay.
But my dad decided that he was going to retire. He said, "Hey, you guys, I'm going to retire. I'm going to close doors." And I'm like, "That's not what other folk do." So
Right.
maybe if you give me a year, I will come and help with the business. So fast forward 5 years. It took me a year to get here.
Okay.
But I did it. I did not want to move.
Okay.
And so, but in order to run a business, you can't run a business successfully if you're not here.
Right.
So I relocated to Atlanta and started working in our urban planning firm with him.
Okay.
He has not retired. I'm just going to say that. Dad.
That's a whole other topic, right?
But the working relationship is fabulous. It's not like, what other people
You're
say.
Not Succession, the show Succession.
Oh, God, no. I looked at that first episode and I thought, thank God my dad is not like this because I would not survive.
Right.
So
Okay.
That's what really brought me into the business and, working with him. But even though he hasn't retired, he's not there. He just does what he wants to do.
Okay.
So.
Good. So I love that we have all these unique perspectives, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've got young starting off. We've got coming from the corporate side with working with your husband. We've got the generational, trying to pass the business down, all those different aspects. So with that in mind, you always see these images of entrepreneurship as it's very glamorous. You're the boss. You're behind a big desk, blah, blah.
Boss babes.
But there are things that stress us out in this process. There are things that for some of us keep us up at night. Okay? So let's talk a little bit about those things. What keeps you up at night in your business? Sierra.
A lot. Man, it's almost like what doesn't keep you up at night. I will say when I started growing, the thing that was so literally would keep me up all night was writing proposals and all the admin work that I think we tend to forget about when we're starting a business. Like, I'm just gonna go out there, I'm gonna do marketing, I'm gonna do my little SEO thing or whatever. But it's like you got proposals, you got your numbers. I mean, baby, I know the calculator works, but it ain't working the way it's supposed to work.
You got bills.
Yeah, you got the bill. I mean, it's a lot. And then you have the work on top of that. And I think that the other thing that was really hard for me is when I started growing, I didn't necessarily know how to grow. How do because I was lowballing myself at first because I wasn't confident. And so I didn't have enough money saved up to be able to hire help.
Right.
And I mean, I was just up all night because I had so much work to do and I didn't have anybody to help me. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. You are the receptionist, you are accounts payable, you're accounts receivable,
you're
operations,
you're the model,
marketing,
service.
I mean,
customer service, returns, shipping,
HR.
Yes.
Yes.
On yourself.
Right.
You're like, I have to send myself home.
Right,
Today, 'cause my
like-
attitude-
You're like, I've been working here for 4 years.
I ain't never got a raise.
I'm gonna write you
I don't
up.
have
No
no
vacation, no
Right.
life insurance, no 401k.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I say that I'm like, I love my boss. She gives me all the time I need, but the heifer has got to get consistent.
Yeah.
With
Where's she at?
Right. She always got stuff to do.
Yeah.
The paycheck
Yeah.
is questionable sometimes. All right, so now you're with your husband. So what keeps y'all both up? Is he keeping you up? Is business keeping you up? What's keeping y'all up? Is one of y'all asleep while the other person's stressed out?
So it's typically me. Like I'm more stressed out. My husband, I don't know if it's just like a male female thing, but my husband has the ability to let stuff go.
Okay.
Like I'll be like if a customer's upset or if an employee is upset about something, I'm like stressed out. Like what did I do wrong? How can I fix it? You know, what's wrong with the business process? And he's just like, let it go. Like if the employee is acting crazy, maybe it's time for them to go. If the client is acting crazy, we'll find another. Like
Right.
he's like that type of mindset.
Okay.
And so he can sleep real good at night, snoring sleep. And I'm like,
Your mind is racing.
my
like,
mind
what
is
do I
racing
do?
like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? So a lot of things is just processes. Like for me, when I starting the business, it was process. Like how can a process be better? How can a process improvement be better from a customer perspective, and from my employees' perspective? Like what can we do to make sure like everyone's happy? And
Right.
and that's hard, right? Because you can't please everybody. But what can you do to kind of make every experience, every touch point enjoyable at some point? And it's hard because like you said, you're also the HR person. You're also looking at Excel spreadsheets. Me, Excel spreadsheets, crazy.
Yeah.
And so it's just all these things. And like you said, on social media, everyone's like on the beach and drinking margaritas. And I'm like at home looking like a homeless person. My hair is in a
Trying to figure out why these numbers
Right,
aren't
I'm like, what is going
You
on?
look
So
so easy on TikTok.
right, I'm like, dude, on Instagram, everybody's so cute. It's just like,
I'm holding my piece in the morning. It's 5 p.m. now. I
Right.
ain't gone to the bathroom yet.
right. So it's just, I think the realities of entrepreneurship isn't quite as luxurious as they
Right.
make it out on social media.
Right. Absolutely. Bridget, what's keeping you up at night?
Anything and everything. It doesn't matter. We're a small firm, but we operate like we're $1 billion firm.
Okay.
And so people look at us like, why aren't you producing? Or you can do this, you can do all these things, but we're a staff of 12 maybe,
Mm-hmm.
and we work like crazy. So
Okay.
if something goes wrong, then it's on me.
Right.
I'm like I said, I'm the customer service person. I'm the HR person. We have this running joke in the office. We don't call OSHA. I'm like, I'm OSHA. I don't know who you're calling. So, and I'm not here today. But any of those things, the finances, you know, if the client doesn't pay, and then we have to figure out how we're going to make that work or make the adjustment. So any of that stuff will keep me up. I have a hard time shutting my brain off.
Yes, yes,
Very hard.
yeah. Collections is a soul-crushing endeavor.
Yes.
Soul-crushing endeavor. Managing people.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things that you know, we really stress you out. And I always
Yeah.
joke, I say, you know, I spend way too much time in Excel for a liberal arts person.
Mm-hmm.
Way too much time in Excel for a liberal arts. I have a bachelor's of arts. Why am I in Excel?
Why am I here?
Figuring out how to make, you know, formulas for
Right.
what is happening. But I'm getting better at it. I'm like, I'm doing my thing.
Listen, if you can, here's a little nugget. If you can understand Excel can help you run your. Excel can help you excel
It can.
Yeah, it can.
because you can do so much.
Yeah.
It's powerful. Like
It
if
is
you really
so
know how to use it.
For that, all the little
Powerful.
janky little squares. I'm telling
There's
you,
power in
Yeah,
those
it's
spreadsheets.
there's power in
Yeah,
them.
it
There's
is.
power.
It is.
Telling you. So
You might want to get some sponsorship with Excel. I like that. Let your business excel with Excel. You might want to look into that. We'll negotiate.
Okay.
We'll put something
I'm a
together.
client.
We'll put a proposal together. All right. So, you know, we talk about the things that keep us up, right? So what keeps you going? What keeps you in the grind? What keeps you trying to figure it out, Stephanie? What keeps you sort of in that grind?
So honestly, for me, it's fear. It's the fear of going back to corporate America. And I'm just
Fear
being
of a
honest.
cubicle?
Fear of a cubicle. Because there has been days where and my husband knows this, and I'll say, that's it, I've had it, I'm going on Indeed, I'm typing up my resume, and I'm about to submit it. He's like, okay, go ahead and do it. And you're going to be in a cubicle, and he like says, all you're going to be sharing the lunchroom with people, you're going to be like, all these things like that goes on in the corporate America, that you're going to have a boss, you're going to be giving you deadlines, that's what you're going to do. So then I sit my tail down, go back to the business, and say, right, you know what, right, go back to Excel. And figure it out. But I think for me, it's just like entrepreneurship is hard. Don't get me wrong, but the freedom that you have, I know I could not go back to corporate America. I don't have that in me anymore. Right. So that fear kind of keeps me going through all. I don't know if you can swear on here, but through all the bullshit that comes with it. That's what motivates me.
The ladies' room is not PG.
Okay,
so.
just
Y'all did a little bit.
So Bridget, I know in your business, in urban planning, you are bringing things to fruition, concrete things. Mm-hmm. So is that what keeps you in it, or is there something else that makes you come back to the table?
That's a big part of it, because I want to see, if possible, the end result.
Right.
We don't always necessarily get to see the end result. We're creating plans. Sometimes we're in and out. We've been very fortunate when we create plans, people will call us back so we can implement the work so we actually can see it happening.
Right.
So that's the piece that keeps me going, just being able to make a difference and make an impact. And you don't get that in corporate.
Right.
You don't have the freedom to do what you need to do. You get a pivot, you can pivot, adjust for the client. You don't necessarily have that freedom. So that's really what keeps me going.
Now, tell the truth. We're friends here. Is it a bit of an ego stroke if you drive down the street and you see something that you were involved in from nothing to now there's like a building or there's some sort of improvement that exists because of what you did, and you took it from idea or blueprint to like concrete.
Right.
She's like,
well, let me.
It is a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, because it is exciting to see. Oh, I had a hand in that,
but
it's not. Well, I had a hand in that. That's all me, right? And so that has been a detriment for us because my dad is the same way. We don't. Right? We just do the work. And so when our young folks have come in, why are we not marketing? Everybody should know what we're doing. Like, that's not what we do. You can go do it, but just being able to know that you made a difference is enough for me.
Right, you need to toot your horn.
Yeah.
As long as the building isn't leaning, you should take credit for it. If someone's like, this intersection is horrible, they're like, I don't know nothing about that.
I'm just going to keep driving.
Like, we had nothing to do with this roundabout.
We're getting better at that. Okay. And I am getting better at that. That's just making a difference.
Okay. Yeah. All right, Miss Sierra, what gets you up in the morning? What keeps you at it?
What keeps me going? My mom, my daughter, my family. For me, my goal is I don't want them to work for anybody else. Okay. I want them to figure out who they are and what they like through the things that I've created. To have that freedom to know that you won't get fired. We'll just make something else work for you.
Right.
Because sometimes I think that I can never go back. And I have been like, let me just look at LinkedIn real quick and just see what's going on.
Is Indeed and LinkedIn basically sort of like what people do when they're going and they're looking at homes? Is this your fantasy? You go to Indeed to see what jobs are out there? Like people go and look on Realtor.com, look at houses?
Sometimes you go to see
what's out there. What are people doing out there?
Yeah, like what are they looking for? Or like, I know what I would pay me, but what would y'all pay me? And then when you see it, you're like, oh no, I was thinking a couple more.
That's right.
And then you scroll down to the benefits, and you're like, that's it?
Yeah.
2 weeks? Oh no.
Yep.
Yeah. So, for me, it's like I just want to ensure that my mom she's getting older, and she doesn't like her. My mom works for the government, and they got some great benefits. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like you have so many young people, the mentality is shifting. And you have your parents and your aunts and your uncles, they just have natural abilities and they just don't know how to use them. And I'm like, let's do something together. Like, let's make our name something that stands the test of time. And you don't have to shift. You don't have to code switch. You remember you go to corporate America, like, hi, how are you? You don't have to do that here. Like, you can bring the chitlins, you can bring the collard greens, we're all going to eat it.
Not the chitlins.
I mean, I don't eat them, but my family does. I don't.
I saw how they come about. I can't.
Yeah, I never. Yeah. Anyway, but that's what keeps me going is my family and just my daughter to know that she can be whatever she wants to be. You can make up whatever role you want and you can make it work.
Right.
It's not you might not find what you want to do on LinkedIn or Glassdoor or wherever. You can use your imagination.
Right.
Follow your passion. Use your gifts.
Yeah. I think that's definitely a part of it. There's this great power in being able to have an idea, have a vision, have a concept, and bring it to fruition, right?
Right.
You don't have to go through 5 levels of
procurement
or approval from the senior director, the senior VP, and walking through this committee.
There's no politics.
Right.
There's no politics in it, exactly.
I was never, ever, still not good at playing politics.
Yeah.
I could not, like, how does she get I'm doing more projects. My projects are more successful. My budgets are larger, but she keeps getting promoted.
Yep.
And I know she don't like the same people I don't like, but here she is. How did she? I don't.
Yeah. And that was always my thing in corporate America. I knew I had a ceiling because I knew I didn't know how to play politics.
Yeah.
And it's a certain level in corporate America where if you could be good at your job, but if you don't know how to play politics, you're stuck.
Right.
So I knew, like, okay, this level and this income is probably where I'm going to max out. So if I don't try something else, this is going to be my life for like the next 30 years.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, and I'm another person that came from working for people before I started my practice, and it has definitely changed my personality, changed my character, grown my personality in a lot of different ways. So how has owning your own business, being a business owner, how do you think it's changed you?
For me, in the type of business that I do, and I don't know if it's good or bad, I'm a lot more matter of fact.
Okay.
And when I speak to people, I'm more like, let's cut to the chase. Like what, in business you have to do that, but sometimes that spills over to like regular life too, and that may not always be good depending on the situation that you're in. And I'm speaking for me, I'm a lot less trusting because when you have clients that you said they may not pay or they're going to say they're going to do certain things and you get to the job and it's something else. So I question everything now because I have to do that in business and then I take that practice outside of business into my personal life as well. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I think I was a lot more trusting and it bit me in the ass a lot in business. My husband, on the other hand, is not trusting at all. So and that would cause conflict. Okay. And I would say, well, no, let's give this person the benefit of the doubt. He's like, oh, no, I'm telling you right now, no. And it would and I had to harden up. And I had to really learn that lesson, but I had to get bit in the ass a lot of times.
Okay. Sarah, you've been in the game so long. Can you tell who you've changed?
Oh, yeah. Like what you're saying right there. I'm even thinking because I'm like, I don't run anything like in our family, but my approach to family is very much like a business. Yeah. And so for me, it worked. For my husband, it doesn't. For my daughter, she'll be all right? She'll figure it out. Yeah. We still try to find that happy medium.
Yeah. Right.
But I think embracing, because I was very trusting at first.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And then it hardens you in a way.
Yep.
And now I'm kind of stepping back into my soft season or my soft side, allowing myself to be vulnerable because, especially for my marketing agency, emotion plays such a great part of what we do. Like when my client is telling me why they've started, I have to believe everything. I have to sop it all up and I got to add like sop to it so I can really get to the root. Mm-hmm. And then I have to step back, create a strategy or run the business like as an out of body experience. So it's like, I'm two of me. It's like part of me is like, oh, but this is your business. It's not. I'm really embracing my client's business.
Right.
And then the other half of me is like, you know how much work you put into that Excel spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm. That's
Excel.
you know how hard it was to come up with those numbers. Yeah. And as much as you want to help somebody, you have to make sure that you have to remember what you want, like your vision for your company,
right.
Because that's your business.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like being a business owner does change you, but it changes you for the good. And if you have the right mentors and the right people around you who can hold up a mirror and really help guide your transformation process, because it's one thing for people always want to give you advice as a business owner, but then it's like, let me see what your business looks like.
Oh, everyone's got an opinion. Yes.
So I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I want to take advice from people who have what I want.
Yeah.
And they aren't just like out here profile and perpetrating and doing all the things. Like, no, baby, I want to see your numbers.
Yeah.
Let's have dinner. Let's have lunch.
Yeah.
Can you show me your bank accounts? Like, not like your numbers, but like, how are they set up? I'm going to see the numbers anyway, right? But be honest, and having people around you who are also transparent and honest and have good business practices, I think makes you a better person.
Yeah.
Yes.
And being able to empathize with those who don't, because if you knew better, you would do better at the end of the day. So
I think that is so key. And being in environments where people are going to be honest about the situation, honest about where they are in their business, honest about revenue, honest about struggles, honest just about the process, and not making it look like, well, I decided to start a business and now I am a millionaire.
Right.
No, or
That's not how
I
this
have all
works.
these clients that are just coming to me and
Right.
everything's fine.
Yeah.
yeah, we can't all be Chef P or Chef, you know, the pink sauce lady that
Oh,
yeah.
she just got the $1 million deal or
Yeah.
something like that for her sauce. That was just, it's like, it doesn't always happen like
Right.
that for everybody.
And most
So-
people, it won't.
and it
Right.
I
won't.
think that's where and I think that's why sometimes a lot of people can't stick with entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Because they
Exactly
think
right.
you're going to be like the pink sauce lady.
Yeah.
And you're just going to start a t-shirt line and then everybody's going to want it and then
Right.
it's a $5 million brand and it just doesn't happen.
Exactly.
It's a lot
You
of
know,
hard work.
A lot of hard work.
dealing with a lot of startups as clients, and you come in and you're explaining the things they need to do. Well, the biggest thing is understanding the expenses are going to come before the revenue.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of
A
expenses.
lot before.
And every month.
Right.
Every
Every
month.
month.
Right.
And you got to keep paying them.
Yes.
Mhm.
And revenue does not equal profits.
That's
Right.
right.
And that's coming from a liberal arts person.
Mhm.
I understand
Right.
that.
That Excel
Revenue
spreadsheet.
does not equal profits, and the expenses come before all of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And folks don't necessarily always understand that or want to accept that. And that's a hard one.
Do you guys remember the first time, I don't know who you bank with, when you learned that your expenses come out of your actual bank account before the money comes in, so you could go negative or get hit with a charge? I learned that like,
How many days?
and I worked at a bank.
Yeah.
And I should have known. And I
Yeah.
was shocked when I started my little business. Like, okay, I got this, $15,000 a month client, and I'm doing all the thing and spending all my money at Forever 21
Oh, Lord.
because that's how when it was cool. Forever 21
Yeah.
it was cool back then.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at my bank. It's like it's the basic principles, like
Yep.
the things that you learn, like way back in the day. It's there for a reason. We might hate all those required courses, but
Yep.
like you said, the expenses, they're always coming out. They come out
Always.
first.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just because you got it don't mean you really got it.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Hit that
So
account.
it has to hit the account.
Yeah. Oh, yes. If the check is in the mail, is usually a lie.
Right.
Mhm.
That check always gets lost.
Yeah.
It's like, where's Waldo?
Zelle, Cash App, PayPal, Cash, it's all
Right.
good.
Right.
Venmo,
Right.
whatever you
ACH,
need.
that's
Mhm.
Right, up
Check
front.
in the mail.
So I want to go back to something we were talking about earlier with you, Stephanie and Bridget. You talked about having a team, having employees, having staff, and how do you sort of navigate that, right? I'm just moving to that point where I'm building a team around me. And it's a critical change, when you're a service provider, to move from just creating a job for yourself to creating a business that is sustaining and servicing customers outside of your own efforts. But when you've got a larger operation like you guys have, that's, part of the process all along. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about your philosophy as a boss, right? So that's the other piece of it, right? You may not want to be an employee, but you have employees or independent contractors that are part of your team. So of your 12, what's sort of your philosophy in terms of a boss?
I give them a lot of freedom. I
Okay.
manage a bunch of millennials.
Okay.
I'm just saying. We have lots of generational talks because
Right, okay.
they don't necessarily see things the same way that or even my dad, so we're talking about three
generations,
right?
right? Yeah.
Great example. He called me and he said, you know what, everybody is wearing tennis shoes in the office. I said, well, dude, we came back from COVID. I gave in because, for him, we have to come to work dressed up with the suit on. He's old school. He's old school, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And so he said,
they're like, no, we're not doing that.
Not even me. I'm not even a millennial.
Right.
And he said, and so I said, well, I gave in as COVID, I said, no one's wearing holy jeans. You said no holy jeans. They're not wearing holy jeans. They're not wearing t-shirts. He said, well, that's true. The next day he comes in with a suit on. I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm trying to set an example. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But no one bought into it. They just said, oh, Mr. Wells, you look great.
Right. They're like, where are you going?
You got a meeting today?
Where are you going?
We got guests.
Right.
You didn't tell us to dress up.
Right.
So things like that, I've learned to be a little more flexible because it's a different generation.
Yes.
They want to work remote. I'm like, no, I'm not working remote. You need to be right here in this office where I can see you. You had a renovation. I moved my office down. Here's glass. Now I can look out and see everything. But we have a nice workflow. And when I look for people, I look to see if their personality is going to match with, first of all, the way we work.
Okay.
Right? Because you can't come in here quiet quitting. Right? Quiet quitting. You can't come in. That's not going to work for us. Because if I need you at 7 o'clock and you've been here since 7, I'm going to need you. And I'm going to ask you because we need to get the work done. So I look for people who have a passion about the type of work that we do. They have to. And if you don't, then it's not going to work. If you don't really, if you're not flexible, if you're not, you can't adjust easy to change, because it can change on a dime. It's the client, whatever the client says. We're a consulting company, so we have to be a little flexible. And if you don't have that type of makeup, you're not gonna last. And so I look for folks that can work like that. I have a great team. I trust them for the most part. But they have to learn how to make mistakes too. As long as the office isn't on fire and no one's dead, we'll be okay.
Right.
It's something that we can fix.
Lawsuits? It's fine.
Lawsuits. Yeah, well, that's another story.
Okay.
You don't have to answer that.
Right.
No, I was no on fire.
Okay,
I'm not gonna get sued.
There you go.
We're good. And I give them that flexibility to be able to, if they have a great idea, just hey, you know what? I was thinking about, can we do blah blah blah? Show me how it works, and let's test it out. Let's see.
Okay.
So I try to have that kind of flexibility. Offer great benefits. We get a lot of vacation days.
Okay.
We get lots of. I just gave them more personal days as a concession to this remote working thing. I just don't know where they do that. You get 15 paid vacation days, 5 sick days, and then 12 personal days, plus the paid holidays.
Right.
I want y'all to stay.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think that's a key is seeing both sides of it and understanding if you're getting good people, for providing good benefits in an environment where they feel vested as well. And thinking about the things that would have triggered you as an employee. But finding a balance, because you're the boss, you got to watch the margins, you're looking at all these things, but taking all that stuff into consideration. So I'm sure that comes up. You're trying to manage, you remember what it was like being an employee and what it felt like, but you're on the other side now. You're watching the numbers, you're in Excel. We should get a sponsorship.
I know.
For real. I think so.
We got to work on that.
Yeah.
The ladies room brought to you by Microsoft. I'm putting it out there in the atmosphere.
Similar to her. So it's like I knew what I didn't like in corporate America. So I tried to be the exact opposite, but you learn like, okay, I see why your job had processes and procedures and all those things. And so I try to think what I would want from a boss and add that in there, but of course make sure I understand how the business is going to run and make sure the business can run successfully. So one of the things that was good for me is that when we started, I did everything. And I mean everything. So I know how each position should work because I've done each position. So I made sure that I had like a good process procedures for each position, so that way when people came into the job, they kind of knew what was expected of them.
That's so good.
Yeah,
Having your
because-
SOPs, a recipe
Yes.
for how do you do it
Exactly.
so that you can delegate. Yeah.
Right.
Desk manuals.
Yeah, and
So
so
you
I,
can do
I
it.
put a lot into I use Asana a lot, our project management tool of like what you should be doing, try to make everything templated and standardized, so that way it's kind of like not mistake free, but it's just like if you follow this recipe, you should be fine. But then also, for me, understanding that everyone isn't going to do it exactly like me,
Right.
and that's okay. And that took some time because I would have people like answer my phone and customer service, and I would listen. I'm like, I wouldn't have said it like that. But that's okay.
Right.
This person isn't me. It's not wrong. It's just not me.
Right.
But that's also good too, because my way isn't always the best way. It's
Right.
just what I've been
Very,
doing.
very infrequently. Is
Right.
Our way, not the
I know.
best way.
And then I know. And then, but it's good because then you're so invested into your business, and you don't have like outside eyes on it. And then when you have someone from the outside say, maybe we should try it this way, and you're like, I never thought about it like that, because you're so involved. So having those outside people, it may not be exactly like you, but it could be a good thing as well.
Right, right.
My dad calls that founder's syndrome.
Founders.
That's what my dad calls
heard
it.
that.
He calls it founder's syndrome because oftentimes you are so close to your
Yes.
to your business
Yep.
that when it's time for you to let go and let someone else, take over what you're doing so you can grow, you
can't.
have such a hard time
It
Yes.
is.
releasing or being flexible even
Yes.
about change. And
Yep.
so that's good to hear that you guys are like seeing yourselves or seeing the roles through other people's eyes and just allowing for that freedom to flow. It's really good.
Yeah, it's hard. Don't get me wrong. It's hard, but
But it can definitely be a challenge because we're more in a service industry,
Right.
right? So much of what you're selling is yourself, your judgment, your personality, and it's figuring out what things you can delegate, what makes sense,
Yeah.
and then how can you bring in a team to sort of provide those services beyond yourself,
Yeah.
right?
And it's the same thing. I used to have founder syndrome. Like, my clients know me for my process. My clients call me the chief simplifier. I make things simple.
yeah.
Really complicated things, it's like, oh, that's all it is. We're just gonna do like 700 small things, but at the end of it, you'll see that you can do this,
Right.
right? So when you're trying to grow a team, like something that you and I have, you're always trying to find someone that kind of feels like you. It's
Right.
more of an intuitive thing, like you're saying, like, you try to find someone who matches our personality or our culture or our business. In our case, people have their own firm or their own agencies, but you're like, is the process and the level of excellence, is it something that I would accept?
Right.
Because even though my client may not know any better, I do.
Right.
Yep.
I know, because I've done all of these things
Yeah.
before.
Right.
And so it's really an emotional process, which is why I think founder syndrome is so real.
It's very real.
It's so
And
real.
it can be a bottleneck. You become the bottleneck in your business,
Yep.
and it limits your growth. It also then it limits the value of your business,
Yes.
right? Particularly when you're a service, if you're doing everything, you just create a job for yourself.
Yep.
And if you don't build a bit of a team, you don't create an asset. You don't create wealth. You don't create a business. You just created
Right.
income.
Right.
You haven't created wealth. Just
Right.
when you've got people under you and you can go on vacation or
Yes.
do something else, and
And the
things are still
business
happening.
Still run.
Things are getting done, revenue's being generated, and you're not there, that's when you have an asset
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
have created for
yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
And
And
I'm sorry.
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I purposely started doing this probably like a year ago. Purposely started to not involving myself because I'm like, this thing has to run without me.
Yes.
I can't be the day to day. If Stephanie isn't there, this ship sinks.
Right.
Like, people have to start figuring things out without me. I have to
Yeah.
give them the right tools and the right process and procedure to figure things out.
Yeah.
Even if it may not be 100% correct, because even with me, I'm not 100% correct, but you have to everyone around you has to be empowered to make decisions, so that way if something comes up, a family emergency, or if you want to take that vacation, a girls trip, you should be able to do that, because that's when you really have a business.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you have to remember that you learn to run your business trial and error.
Yep.
Right? And you smooth the way, but there's going to be that. So you put some guardrails in so there's room.
Yep.
You say you're going to have a 2-week turnaround, you give them a week so that if it's jacked up,
Right.
you got a week to fix it.
Right.
And if it's right, then you can get it to the client a week early, and then everyone looks great.
Right.
But it's thinking smarter in those strategies as well. Yeah.
And automating your business in any and every way that you can.
Yes. Yep.
That's it. Automate your business.
Yes.
And get life insurance.
Yes. Yes.
Automate your business.
Yes.
Get you life insurance. Get you a 401k.
Yep.
But those are the things that, as I'm growing and learning more, I'm like, those are the key things, because then it makes even your job. You have a team, but it makes your job so much easier because now you can pump out your contracts, your proposals. Then the client, or even like the client is actually hitting all the triggers. Okay, well, when you fill out that form, this is going to be sent to you. And then you're just sitting there like, I bet.
I'll tell you, I'm so proud. I'm so proud. So this leads to one of my, second to last kind of questions. Looking at where you are now, what would you tell yourself? When you landed here in Atlanta, ready to take over from your dad, to where you are now, what would you tell her when she was, coming around 285, like, where am I? Let me get settled. What would you tell her?
I would tell myself it's going to be okay.
Okay.
And you can do this.
Yes.
Right? Because it wasn't different, because I'd run a business before. It was a different type of business. And then it's carrying the legacy, right? So I would tell myself, you can do this. It's going to be fine.
Right.
And it's been fine. It's been fun. It's been hard.
Yeah.
Sleepless nights.
Yep.
But it's going to be okay.
Okay. Stephanie, what would you tell yourself?
Definitely that. But I just want to say this. I think a part of me is glad that I didn't know how hard it was going to be. Because I think as hard as it was for me to leave corporate America because I was scared of not getting a 2-week paycheck, like that's nothing compared to all of the super lows that you have in your business. So a part of me is, yes, it'll be okay. I would tell myself that. But then I'm so glad I didn't know the reality of what entrepreneurship was, because honestly, I don't know if I would have been able to do it if I would have known. Right. I don't know if I thought I was strong enough to.
Right.
But so I guess I would tell myself that I am strong enough to kind of endure those things.
Sierra, what would you tell yourself?
Get life insurance.
Disability insurance.
Disability insurance.
Liability insurance. Life insurance. All the insurance. Okay.
And I would also say that, Ciara, you are worthy of every dream and every vision that you have had. Don't let anybody play you, period. Right? Don't let anybody play you. Don't let anybody try to sell you short. Anything that God puts in, any idea, if something comes in, you're like, oh, that actually sounds, go do it. Don't be afraid of anything. Go do it. And if you see something that doesn't make sense, go be the solution to it. And hype it up. Hype it up. Be your hype man. If you listening to Beyonce, if you listening to Fred Hammond, or whatever you listening to, just get in the mirror and be like, yo, dog, I got this. Ain't nobody seeing me. Even if everybody's seeing you, tell yourself nobody's seeing me, because it's true. When you have the confidence, when you can just strangle that vision, you can plow through mountains, you can go through obstacles. Things might look real suspect, but God is going to see you through it, because he's never going to give you anything more that you can handle, right? So when you thought you weren't strong enough to handle X, God was like, baby, here's why. And you were like, oh, okay, Lord, I'm looking out. Just know that it's always going to work out, and just go do it.
All right.
Go do it and go have fun.
Now, while you pass the collection plate, I want Stephanie to tell the people where they can find you.
So you can find me so my business is called The Moxie Maze, and I'm on social media everywhere at The Moxie Maze.
Okay. Bridget, where can people find you?
APD Urban Planning and Management, www.apdurban.com.
Okay, and the good Reverend, right, Bishop, sanctified, Doctor, Holiness. Where can the people find you?
So you can find me at the Adobe Group, ADAOBI Group.com, wherever the internet serves you.
All right. And I am Roxann Smithers. I want to thank my guests for coming with me into the ladies' room, for being honest and vulnerable, and really giving some great guidance. And we'll see you next time in the ladies' room. I want to thank my guests for coming with me into the ladies' room, for being honest and vulnerable, and really giving some great guidance. And we'll see you next time in the ladies' room.